Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch today. I want to try to answer in my own opinion, and this opinion is really based on a lot of research that I've done, of what is the real goal of the Great Reset, the real goal of Agenda 2030 and the Agenda 21 plan for the future. I mean, if you read on the surface, it talks about, environmental stuff and equality and plenty of food for everybody. But as many of you've already figured out, there's definitely something deeper going on than that. And I'm sure we all have our answers, but I want to show you some stuff that, well, it's kind of from their own mouth of what might really be going on. And this is something that I've been saying for quite a while, and maybe some of you roll your eyes at me, but we'll see how this goes. Before I get started with it, I want to mention that I've sent out the newsletter for any of you that receive and have signed up for our newsletter. And this is for local newsletter and not local. Most of the information, yes, is local, but you can receive that if you wish. And if you've signed up for it, I have sent it out. If you don't see it, make sure you check your spam mailbox, because it does go there quite often if you've, not accepted to receive it or saved the address in your address book of your email. Anyways, so this is probably a question in a lot of people's minds. What is their real goal with this? Like I said, I mean, they talk about the environment all the time. They talk about equality and, social justice and all this kind of stuff. But many people still wonder, with everything that they're doing and all this changing and moving around and these plans that these elites have for us, what is the real goal? And many of you might say, well, it's to, consolidate everything, under this big one world government. It's to take away our private property, take away our private property and our individuality. It's to, take away our wealth. That's what it's for. It's to reduce the population size. It's to do that. It's to reduce the population size. And there may be many more answers, and none of you are wrong necessarily. But I think that there's a deeper answer to this question. And in my opinion, is really at the core of what their plan is, what their goal is, what their intentions are. And it most certainly has biblical context. Although I'm not sure I'll go into it in this video. And before I can answer this question, stick with me, because I got a video to show you, a little video clip that's pretty much right from their own mouth. And they pretty much say it right from their own mouth, what their goal is and what they plan on happening. But to go back further, you have to really look into, in my opinion, what's called the human farming philosophy. And what that is pretty much, since all civilization has existed, humans like you and I have been farmed by the rulers, the elites, the people that sit at the very top of the totem pole. It's been that way. It was that way all throughout Bible times, ancient history, all throughout times until now. And it's still going on everywhere today. In fact, in the Bible, when you read about the Hebrew children, the Israelites, and they were coming into the land of Canaan, into the promised land for them, the Father, God in heaven, was trying to set them up the first and only system that wasn't that. It wasn't a system based on, servant and master. It wasn't a system based on the peasant and the ruler over them. He set it up originally as a system that there were no earthly rulers. There was no ruler of man ruling them. It was him directly from heaven ruling over them. And that wasn't good enough for them. They wanted to be cool like everyone else around them, and they wanted to have a human figurehead as the person that would rule over them. And God knew that was just going to end up being corrupt, because men are corrupt. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And of course, we know the whole history of, or at least many of you, of where the children of Israel and the ancient state of Israel led to, of destruction and occupation and all that over and over again. what human farming is, and it's changed throughout the years. At first, you were an absolute slave. You were treated like trash. You were beaten, and you were given very little, and the ruler took everything. And little by little, the rulers realized that, well, if we give them a little bit more, if we allow them a little bit, their leashes, if their leashes were a little bit longer, they'd be a little bit more productive. And in the end, the more productive slaves, the more productive people, then the wealthier and the more powerful the rulers are. And that's why, as we see throughout history, little by little, people became able to have a little bit more land and to control it. The serfdoms, and then a little bit more when they were allowed to actually purchase and own property. And then now, we go into what's considered democracies, even though we're not a democracy in the United States, or wasn't meant to be. To where people have what we believe to be freedom. We believe that we are free men, but we're not, because at any moment in time, the government can come in and lock you into a cage, and at any moment in time, the government can come in and take your property away, and at any moment in time, they can do whatever they want to you in a manner of speaking. The problem is that over time, the rulers, realizing that if they were the people, the animals, the farm animals, were more free, then they would be more productive. Except they probably let it go too far, at least in their minds, because the more free people are, the more we're able to make really bad choices. And human beings are by nature they're sinful. I mean, that's what we are. And while individuals may make great choices sometimes, as a collective, as a whole, we make bad choices a lot. And so we overproduced. The population growth, you can go back and you can look throughout history of human population growth, and then all of a sudden, 150 to 200 years ago or less, population growth just started exploding. It was because people were more free. They were more prosperous. They could, have bigger farms. They could have more land. They could have better food, better living conditions. And so, the quality of life increased, the life expectancies increased, and people produced more because we were more free and we were enjoying life more, and people were buying into this illusion that we are free, at least in the large portions of the planet. And so the rulers today, they see that we're destroying everything, and not only are we destroying everything, at least in their minds, and you understand this is all from their perspective. Not only are we destroying everything in their minds, we are becoming so many that we can't be controlled as easily. They know that there's so many of us that even if they took out a lot of us, they couldn't take us all out. These things from, like, say, the Georgia Guidestones, where it talks about population reduction down to 500 million. Do you realize that's like 7.5 billion people dying? I mean, that's a lot of dead bodies. It's a lot of graves. It's massive, collapses of our civilization if that were to happen. I mean, the environmental collapse, that rapid reduction of emissions and everything, it would just cause an explosion, and probably explosion in nature, but also probably a very rapid cooling of the planet. So there's all these problems. Well, what I believe this new plan, and I know I'm going around the barn to get to the front door. Just bear with me. What their greater plan is they've, and this is something that they've wanted forever. Great rulers have always put themselves out there as gods, from the Egyptian rulers to throughout the Middle East, China, Asian nations, Europe, kings of England, kings of the European nations. They always looked upon themselves as gods. In fact, in many of them, the countries that the people actually worshipped them as gods, and as they passed on, they went on to be, deified in their respective states and religions. And so they've always had this godlike mentality, that they not only want to be as equal to God, but they want to be greater than that. In fact, that was the deal with Satan, with Lucifer getting kicked out of heaven, is that he believed that he could be greater than God. And so today we have technology that's finally kind of catching up with things. And so they believe that through this technology, that they will be able to prove to themselves and to the rest of the world that these elites are gods, that they can take the power and the of creation into their own hands, and that they can do things well that you can't do. And that's what makes them special, and what makes them godlike. Not just godlike, but superior to God. They don't deny God's existence. They just say that they themselves are gods, equal to him, and maybe even greater once they're finished with their plans. Now, I know that many of you are sitting listening to this and saying, man, what is Travis smoking today? This is some crazy, crazy stuff. And I understand it's extremely fringy, but it doesn't make it untrue. Do the research, do your homework, and you'll find out that, well, what I'm saying is pretty accurate. I want to show you this clip here. This is Yuval, I think is how his name is pronounced, Noah Harari. I may be butchering his name, but honestly, it doesn't matter. This guy is an author and a professor, supposed to be one of the smartest people on the planet. He's also one of the top, if not the top advisor to the World Economic Forum and to Klaus Schwab himself. He's also advised numerous prime ministers and heads of state. Barack Obama quoted him numerous times and praised his works. He is talked about by Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Google executives, other tech executives. He is considered, in many ways to them, their kind of savior, you know. So anyways, I want to play this for you, and what he's talking about is their plan, what their plan is. They want to create. In fact, if you notice in here, he doesn't deny God's existence. He's not an atheist. He believes that they, not we, me, but they have the power to create too. And they're going to do that through this technology. They're going to create artificial life, and it's going to be as good, it's going to be better than organic life, and that they will establish themselves greater than God. Listen up.
The only thing God managed to create are organic beings. All these trees and giraffes and humans, they are just organic. But we are now trying to create inorganic entities, inorganic life forms, cyborgs, artificial intelligence, and so forth. If we succeed, and there is a very good chance we will, then very soon we will be beyond the God of the Bible.
Now, I know you can watch this and you can say, well, this guy's a crazy kook. He's fringe. I mean, I don't hear, you know, as bad as Bill Gates is, I don't hear him saying this. I mean, you know, as bad as Barack Obama is, I don't hear him saying this, you know. No, this is the guy that gives them all their ideas. He is literally one of the top advisors of this very small elite core of globalist leaders. And he's talked about this subject at length. This is their goal. Their goal is to take control of us, yes. To take our property and personal possessions, yes. To squeeze us into mega cities and, you know, have no personal property, not even vehicles. Like I said this morning, yesterday, the World Economic Forum published a paper talking about how, you know, it's just evil to own your own car. You should be ashamed of yourself to own your own car. It's just wrong. It's not necessary in today's world. It's so that they pollute so much. You just shouldn't own your own car. Also, in the last couple of days, CNN ran an article talking about how you're selfish if you use air conditioning. You shouldn't have it. It's bad. It hurts the environment. Next thing you know, they'll be telling us owning land and owning your own house is just a horribly selfish and evil thing. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. It's always the word they use. This is a pattern. And this pattern also includes this development of very advanced technologies, this what they call the fourth industrial revolution, which is the merger between organic life and artificial intelligence and robotics. The World Economic Forum has been quoted directly by saying that in the future, and we're not talking hundreds of years in the future, we're talking in the next decade or so, that the difference between humans and technology, robots and stuff, will be so blurred that it will be very difficult to define what a human being is, and a human being won't look anything like it does today. Their goal is to further the advancement of human civilization and further the evolution of the human species, so that they can stand back and that they can claim that they are gods now, that they are God. And of course, we all know that this is not true. This is absolute ridiculousness. But it doesn't change the fact that that's what their goal is. It doesn't take too much digging into all of their writings and their videos and their speeches to find out that there's kind of an underlying theme to all this. And I believe that's the whole point of this creation of synthetic foods and synthetic meats. Our food comes from God one way or the other. And they want to take that power into their own hands and say, nah, it's us. We're the one that gives you your sustenance. They've talked about recently in the last few weeks and months that by the year 2040, 2050, that people won't be reproducing the way that we, just like some silly sci-fi movie, that if you want to have a baby, you'll have a virtual baby in the metaverse, and that people will be reproduced in test tubes in labs. And there's a lot of belief that this trans movement is conditioning us, because some of the talking points, in fact, that the person that I just showed you the video of, that Harari has even spoken on this, that by the year 2050, that there won't be any genders. Like biologically, there won't be any genders. And that all human life will be, created in a laboratory, and that we will be perfect. This sounds like crazy sci-fi stuff, folks, but it is actually in all of their literature. The reset and this zero carbon emissions and all that kind of stuff, those are just steps getting us to their greater goal of complete rule over us. Their greater goal of being able to say that, we, the people, that we are theirs, that they own us because they created us, that they own everything, that they have absolute control over us, that they can monitor us. That's another thing that the guy in the video talks about often, of how the technology exists now for the first time in human existence, that these elites, that the people in power can monitor you absolutely down to the molecular level, that they can monitor you through vaccines that get put into your body that monitor everything. They can monitor you through all the digital means and sensors and satellites and cell phones and everything else, cameras everywhere, that they can absolutely monitor everything, and that very soon they'll be able to monitor your thoughts, because brain implants are only just 2 to 3 years away, most likely. In fact, they're about ready to start FDA approval process. While many of you may think this is just a little too much, I thought this was a homesteading channel that I watched. I know, we've gone off the deep end today, but folks, I'm telling you, this is their plan. This is what I have been researching this stuff for almost 2 decades now. Okay, I've read lots and lots of their works, and it's there all over the place. This is really why we live the way we do, because while we're still on this planet, while we're still here, I want to make sure that I don't have to eventually make a choice of accepting their conditions, their mark, so that it's, I'm able to live, or that my children will. This is why we choose to live the way that we do, because more and more this stuff is just seeping in everywhere. It's getting to the point you can't guarantee necessarily the food that you eat doesn't have something in it, some kind of human DNA or some kind of other additives that you don't know what they are. They're polluting the education, they're polluting knowledge, they're polluting history with all of their ideas. It was Michelle Obama that said, that they're going to have to change everything, change traditions, change history, change how we think, change everything. I mean, that was her own words. Folks, this is the real deal, and this is why we have to get prepared. It's like all of human civilization has been existing to get to this point. It's been culminating to this point that we're at right now. And you need to be getting in order everything. mentally, physically, and spiritually, because I think times are about to get really hard for those of us that don't want to be part of that world. So get your houses in order. Folks, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.